Today, Friday, wow, the weeks are going so quick. You are going to compare and order fractions. You're going to use number lines and also the fraction walls to help you. And we're going to look at half to see how half helps us, especially when we're ordering fractions. It's almost like a guideline halfway. Let's look at today's then. Discover. Drag the number cards to complete the puzzles. You can only use each card once. Now, you know, in class, we would have the cards in front of us. You would have the mats in front of you to help you. Unfortunately, we haven't got that luxury, but never mind. I am going to put a fraction wall to help you. You might want to use this. So let's look at these problems in a little bit more detail. Complete the puzzle to move to the next level. So I'm going to do this one first because it says A, complete the puzzle for Louis. We're going to do Louis first. Let's have a look. Is something quarters is less than 3/4? And the numbers we can only use, we're going to use one of these ones, remember, 4, 5, 2 and 10. I wonder which one goes there. Look at this one. So many tens equals the same as so many eighths. Remember, we're just using those numbers. You might want to look at your tens and your eighths to compare which numbers it can be. This one is a bit trickier. I think I'd leave this one till last. 4/8. Remember, 4/8 is the same as, yeah, how many 4s are in 8? 2, so that's the same as half. And this has got to be larger than this number, which we've also got the same numerator, which makes it a little bit trickier, but you might find the number that you are left with goes there, then you can check it out. When you've done that, let's look at this one next. Complete the puzzle to move to the next level. So this is the next level. And this is the next level because it's 1/8, and we've got to make that 1/8 is going to be smaller than this one. So this one's got to be greater than, it's got to be worth more. It's a bigger fraction. And then this one has also got to be larger, greater than this one. And they're the numbers that you're going to be using. So I want you to have a go at that now. And so I would pause this and have a go and see how we go on. And then we're going to use the number line, another way of solving the problem. See which one works for you. So let's look at the number line now. Here we go. Let's look at this as the problem. This is Louis' problem. Start by completing the equivalent fraction. There is only one way to do this using Louis' card. Let's have a look. So we know we've got tens and eights. So we've got the number line there in tens, and we've got the number line here in eighths. And we can see there's only one that actually match up. None of the others would match up, apart from, of course, if you got to the end where they'd both be equal to 1, but we can't because this is not in our numbers. Look, we've got tens and eights, and we can only use those numbers. So we know that we have got 5 and 4, so we're going to use 5 tenths, which is the same as half, and 4/8, which is the same as half, because we've come halfway down. Now, let's use the other cards. So we've got the cards left. We've got 2 and 10 left. Let's look at this one then. We know that 3/4 is going to be larger than this number. This number's got to be less. So if we look at 3/4, here's my 3/4. What would be less than? Yeah, what would be less in the 3/4? And we know that the less than can only be 2. Can we see why that is? That's 2/4, that's 3/4, that's less than that. Now we've only got one number left now. So which number could it be? Should we see how they've worked it out? They have got 4/8 there. There's my 4/8. And we know we've only got a tenth left. We know that our 4/10 would be the only number we could use. If you need that, if you use the hardest, leave the hardest to last, you often find you actually don't need to do much work with it. You can check it out, like they've checked it out. Let's look at this one then. This is the next one. This is a bit trickier. 1/8. Remember, this number has got to be larger, and this number has got to be larger than that number. So we've got 1/8, and they put 8, and they've also put tenths there because we've got the 10 number there. And they also put fifths there. They've not put quarters there, have they? I wonder why. Should we do this first and then we might find out why? 1/8. So we know the numbers. So they have gone to the tenths. Remember, this has got to be larger than. They've put 2 tenths, because we can see that the tens, the next one larger would be 2. We couldn't have put 3 tenths because we haven't got 3 there. Yeah. So they've got 2 tenths. Can we see why that's? Let's knock out the 2 and the 10 so we can see 2 and 10. So we've got 2 numbers less, 4/5 or 5 quarters. Well, 5 quarters, because that number, the numerator is larger, that would be more than 1 by a quarter. So really, it's not going to be 5 quarters, because we don't usually go over 1, do we? So we know we're looking at the fifths. That's why they put the fifths down. So we know that 4/5, we've only got those numbers left, would be more. Remember, if it was 5/4, that would be 5 quarters, which would be 1 whole one plus a quarter. And we're not on mixed numbers, we're just looking at the fractions. Let's look at ordering the fractions from the smallest to the largest. So we're looking at them getting larger, getting greater than. Let's look at the first one then. We've got 8 eighths, 8 eighths, 2 eighths and 6 eighths. I think this one's quite easy. Let's look where 8 eighths would be. I put these into my eighths, and there's my 8 8, which is the whole thing. So we know that that is quite a big number. So we know that's definitely not going to be the smallest number. So let's have a look where 2 eighths is. And there we can see 1 2 eighths, and then we can see where 6 eighths is. So we know now that the smallest number would be 2 eighths. The next one would be 6 eighths, and it would get larger by 8 eighths. So that is what it would look like. So we know that this is smaller than, and that's because my numerator has got larger. Can we see the numerator's got larger? The denominator has stayed the same. So that's why that works. Yeah. A little bit different to what we've done before, because these are the denominators that are all the same, but we know that we've only shaded, we're only taking 2 parts of the 8, whereas there we've taken 6 parts, and there we've taken 8 out of 8, which is the whole thing, the whole fraction, which will be worth 1. Let's look at the next one then. Let's find where a quarter is. So I've put these all on my number line to find my quarters. These are my quarters. So I'm looking at my 1/4, which is there. I want to find half. So let's have a look where my halves are, which is here. So we can see straight away the difference. And then I want to find my thirds. My thirds is, I'm looking at 1/3, which is the smallest amount. We see which is the least number. We're looking from ordering from the smallest to the largest. So what do you think it is? Can you say it or write it down? Let's have a check. So we know that a quarter is smaller than a third, and then comes half, which is halfway through there, all smaller than half. Let's look at C then. Again, we've got half there. Now we're looking at to find where 3/4 is. So we go into my quarters, and there's my 3/4. So I'm looking at my half there, my 3/4, and my third. So can we see which order these 3 are going to go in? Yeah? Have you said it? I wrote it down. We have got a third, then a half, then 3/4. So we can see using number lines makes it really easy to order our numbers. Let's look at your challenge today. What numbers should go in the boxes? This is your challenge, and you have got this to help you. So your fraction wars in place. Let's have a look what goes there. They've all got 1 as their numerators, not their denominators. And this has got 8 as their denominator, and this is also an 8 of the denominators. So that bit I think is probably quite easy. Yeah. So write the 4 fractions in order now. Which order? Starting with the greatest. which is worth the greatest, which is worth the most. Yes? Right. See how you go on with that one. Remember, that is your challenge that you do if you're finding this really okay and thinking, yeah, I need a bit of a challenge. This is certainly a good challenge for you. Let's look today then. You'll be doing page 18, starting page 18, and you'll reflect. Complete the sentences. I find it easy to compare fractions by. So which method do you find easiest? And I find it tricky when. So when do you find it a little bit more tricky to do that way? Remember, you've always got to do the one that works for you. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Now, that's it for me for doing fractions. No, Miss Usherworth is going to do it next week to carry on finishing that week of fractions. And then we're going to be starting with time. So I will see you not next week, the week after, but next week we were doing the big read. So I shall still see you Monday. Bye.